All right, when you hear Dracula's castle, what pops into your head? You're probably picturing some towering, Gothic castle on a lonely mountain, right? Well, today we're going to peel back all that myth and get to the real deal, Poenari Fortress. This was the actual stronghold of the man who started the whole legend. So let's just start with the biggest question of all. You gotta forget all the tourist traps and the Hollywood movie sets for a second. Where did the real historical guy, the one we know as Dracula, actually make his last stand? Well, the answer is right here, Poenari Fortress. And this isn't just some other castle on a list. This was the true lair of Vlad the Impaler, the absolutely fearsome ruler who inspired the entire Dracula legend. Now, what makes this place so incredibly important in history is that it was the end of the line for him. This wasn't just some vacation spot or a minor fort. Nope. According to the history books, Poenari was Vlad the Impaler's last fortress. This was it, his final stronghold, the very place he held out before his death. And of course, you really can't talk about Vlad Koenig without getting into the grim legends that are practically baked into these stones. The stories say that right here, inside these walls, is where he imprisoned and, well, tormented his enemies. So this fortress wasn't just built to keep people out. It was a place of pure terror for anyone who was foolish enough to cross him. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. I mean, Vlad the Impaler is a huge part of Poenari's history for sure, but he wasn't the beginning of it, not even close. You see, this fortress was forged by time, centuries before Dracula ever even laid eyes on it. This timeline really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? The story kicks off way back in the 2nd century, founded by the Roman Empire, when it was at the absolute peak of its power. Fast forward a few centuries, and it's a key spot for Romanian princes. Then comes Vlad's time, when he saw how valuable it was and fortified the heck out of it, really shaping it into the fortress we imagine today. But after he died, it was just abandoned, left to crumble for hundreds of years, until people finally started putting it back together in the 20th century. It's just a place with so many layers of history. So what was the big deal about this place? Why did everybody from Roman emperors to Vlad the Impaler want to control this one specific spot? Well, the secret is all in its design. Let's break down the anatomy of this absolute beast of a stronghold. 4 meters. Just think about that. That's over 13 feet. Let that sink in for a minute. That was the thickness of the fortress walls. We are talking about a structure that wasn't just built to stand up. It was built to survive literally anything you could throw at it. That one number tells you almost everything you need to know about how tough this place was. You know, the fortress is really like an architectural time capsule, built up in layers over all those centuries. It all sits on these super solid Roman foundations made of local stone. Then on top of that, you have your classic medieval upgrades, the battlements, the moat, all built for war. But then you go inside and there's a touch of Gothic style, a little reminder that this was also a home, not just a military base. But at the end of the day, this fortress was engineered for one thing: survival. It had the towers and gates you'd expect, and its location was genius, controlling all these important trade routes. But it also had some pretty advanced features, like a unique pulley system for fighting off a siege, and, this is my favorite part, a bunch of secret passages and hidden doors. They say some of them are still there today. And then there's this one detail that'll just give you chills, the Porta de Trandafir. It translates to Flower Gate. Sounds pretty, right? But legend has it, this was the entrance where Vlad would receive his enemies. And given his reputation, you can imagine that reception wasn't exactly warm and fuzzy. Okay, so like any great structure, its story has its ups and downs. After its golden age, Poenari fell into a long, slow decline. But that is not where the story ends. Let's take a look at its journey from a forgotten, overgrown ruin to a national treasure. So, with its most famous or infamous master gone, the fortress just wasn't important anymore. It was completely abandoned. And for centuries, nature just took over. You had plants and vines slowly swallowing up the stones, hiding this incredible piece of history from the rest of the world. And the contrast between then and now it's just amazing. From that crumbling, vine-covered wreck, look at it today. Thanks to a ton of hard work and restoration, Poenari is now a museum and a cultural center, letting all of us step right back into its incredible and kind of terrifying history. So the fortress was saved from becoming a pile of rubble, but its story doesn't just live in the history books. Today, Poenari has this powerful, enduring legend that makes it so much more than just a ruin. Believe it or not, it's a real cultural hub. Inside, it's a museum. It's got collections of rare books, art, all sorts of incredible historical artifacts. And that spooky, iconic look, well, that has not gone unnoticed by Hollywood. It's been a filming location for movies like Dracula and Vampire Academy, which has really cemented its image in pop culture. Now, with the history that's so steeped in violence and conflict, and ruled by a guy like Vlad the Impaler, it's probably no surprise that the legends don't exactly stay in the past. Poenari is said to be one of the most haunted places in all of Romania. Some people even claim the ghost of Vlad himself still walks the walls at night. And that kind of brings us to our final thought here. Poenari Fortress is a place of hard facts. Roman stones, 4-meter thick walls, a very clear timeline. But it's also a place of powerful, chilling legend. And it really makes you wonder, when we look back at history, how much of what we see is what really happened, and how much is just the thrilling, terrifying story that we choose to remember?